Watch real time, right? There's the so make the camera do.
If you guys want to try the air conditioner,
Or fan.
Probably not, it's too noisy.
this is noisy.
I think
It's quieter than ours.
I would try it.
Alright, we can try it.
I guess we usually plug it in, no, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And you've got,
Oh, yeah, I've taken all your plugs. Maybe next time.
I mean, it's not as bad as it's sure. Next time.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Okay. Joyce, we're gonna have an empty seat up here.
It's packed all the way.
I don't know,
Surgery was.
not till July. On an agenda.
Sure. I don't know how long it will be stay.
We will probably be leaving outside.
So maybe.
And
About when?
After the financial item, in case there's any questions, we'll take to that. And then we will probably.
What? Don't say that. You guys go swimming today?
Lennon did, she's been going to summer camp at Indoor High, Accra Summer Camp, and they swim every day.
Wow, that's great.
At the summer school. That's fun. Yeah.
You guys invite them to the pool yet tomorrow? You guys wanna go to the pool with these guys at 2 tomorrow? So great.
Pool.
Oh, you know what? I don't think we can, because Lennon has dance at 2:45. So it'll be a quick turnaround, pool to the leotard.
Yeah,
Just going to.
I didn't even think about that.
That's a possibility. So, you know, trying to get on.
Are you doing Cindy?
I'm good, how about you? Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah, got any trips planned?
End of the month, we're going up to the San Juan Islands for. Yeah.
About that same time, I'm going back to see my grandson. Graduation from 8th grade. They have 212 or 210 days of school, so they're just
Yeah.
ending.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's in Florida, right?
No, he's in New Jersey. They're just across the river from New York. Theo works in Manhattan. New
Oh,
Jersey's
nice. Yes,
more livable.
like Jersey City or,
They're right in Newark.
oh, in Newark.
But they moved there from New Orleans, so they're well used to really integrated neighborhoods.
Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent.
I know.
Yeah.
What's up? You are gonna say, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. Or you can say it anyway, you can say, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? And people will use your chairs and things, and when they all settle, you go, I, and everybody will join you.
Okay,
All right,
okay, thank you.
perfect. And we will call the meeting to order. And then the next thing is, I will say, and tonight we have a special guest, Steve Roth, and you'll come up to your spot. And then you will say the words you want to say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 'cause I won't say what you're doing, all right? I just think that Senator Alvarado sure is personable. I mean, she's just charming.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, and well, you've known her for a while.
Yeah, well, yeah, and, you know, I
Yeah.
did get an email from Catherine Ebat after the event.
Oh,
And, you know, she's not a fan,
doesn't matter.
doesn't it? But, you know, Oh, it's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
I like to support people who are committed to trying to stay in the middle,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
and not get distracted from doing what they're supposed to do. you know.
to like a particular ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she fits
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
quite well.
Mhm. And we might need more chairs. Hi.
Hi, Gary.
How are you?
Good.
Audience tonight, huh?
No, I'm waiting for it.
Okay, you need to.
It's just something that.
Yeah, do you think so?
Huh?
That we should mention? Like in public comment? Perfect. Okay, excellent. Okay.
Okay, there's something you need to announce on public comment?
Dave's gonna take care of it. He'll take care of it.
Perfect.
So I do want to ask. Sandy, can you step out for a minute? I just have a question about.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
And we gotta just.
Have you met Mark and Amy? Behind you, Ginger? Okay, introduce yourselves, good people.
Mark,
Anna, close. I'll get it correct.
Nice to meet you.
Anna, do you need an agenda?
Usually,
Because she was out there.
she's reading the New York. I think it might be cooler outside
That's probably true.
without all the bodies, and I'm not sure Charlie would know what to do without the New Yorker in front of him. So. I'm not sure who's reading it, Susan or Charlie.
Holding it up and turning.
Yeah.
Oh, the other guy. Yeah. So Bruce, is it a sprain or did you break it? Oh, man.
We have screws and a plate, so
Oh,
should be all good.
We can be twins. I had screws and plates and.
Oh.
That's what they recommended.
Yeah, well, he said otherwise your hand's gonna be bent for the rest of your life and.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, straighten it out.
You have to have it, you have to go through a different medical protection there for.
No, I mean, I thought I did it first.
Well, the surgeon over here said she has one in her ankle. It's never said.
It never, yeah,
You know,
I've never had it set it off.
so I'm guessing it's not.
Yeah, I think it's a different type of metal.
Yeah. Some sort of composite.
Yeah.
Well, that scares me just a little bit.
Oh,
No.
I'm sure there's other reasons to be more scared than people's.
No, it's if they figured it out, someone figured it out and got something which they should have because it's that metal on the plane.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recovering from surgery is hard.
Huh?
Recovering from surgery is hard. Okay. Ah, we do, full house.
Wow. Marching.
We do. Pull some chairs up. She's gonna pull this up. Bruce, it's gonna block the camera. Nope.
You don't do that. We'll take care of it. Okay.
Move it to the back.
Although there's the
Agenda.
Number 2. We will have an exodus. item.
Sandy, I forget, we went back to you doing the roll call, right? It was just easier.
Roll call for vote. But the number 3 roll call. Okay.
I'll get into the.
Haven't seen you in a
They
while.
tried to offer.
Okay. These need to be on wheels. And they need to be much lighter.
I need another
Okay.
pillow, so I can see over the top.
Yes.
I've shared it about everyone. And she's good. She can nail a cross examination. There's no one ever can bet at that. I get to be quick.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Thank you all for being here. It's lovely to see everyone. The meeting will convene. So I'd like to welcome our special guest tonight, Lizzie Groff. Will everyone please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Lizzie.
Hey,
We'll now do roll call, beginning with our council members. Councilmember Susan Bragstad.
here.
Councilmember Bruce Sherrill.
Here.
Councilmember Ann Keller-Tinian.
Here.
Sorry, excuse me, Vice Mayor Mayor Ann Keller-Tinian is here, and our Mayor Sandy Staples.
Here.
Right, Mayor, I'll turn the time over to you.
Okay, and we have a quorum?
You.
Okay. The first item 4 on the agenda is approval of the city council regular meeting agenda for tonight, 20 June 2024. And I already have a few corrections for people to note after I already printed it. With regard to resolution, item 9C, resolution 627, we are having a substitute resolution version for that. It's been rewritten since the packet was handed out. And on item 9E, the name of the landscape agency is incorrect. It's Gutierrez Landscaping, not Sergio. And item 9F, we will have a handout distributed during the meeting. An email from John Hopkins. So with that, is there a motion to approve the meeting with those, the agenda with those corrections?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll take roll call vote because we are being videoed. So, Susan,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Ann,
Bye.
and I. So the motion is approved. The minutes are approved. We now come to public comment. Under provisions of the California Code, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please submit a completed speaker submittal form. If we don't know how to spell your name, Gary, we know how to spell your name. Comments are limited to 5 minutes or less, and speakers are requested to state their name and organization if they're with an organization. Under provisions of the California Government Code, the council is prohibited from materially discussing or acting on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of emergency nature. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment? Gary, thank you. Would you stand so we can get it recorded?
I'm Gary Versatore. I live up here on the East School Street. Just got 2 items. First thing is to see what the status of the right-of-way vacation is on O'Neill Alley between 10645 and 10655. O'Neill, I submitted the paperwork back in March, paid the fees. Met with, or had a couple of discussions with the engineering company. And the last one was a memo I sent back to him, advising them to hold it up because he told me that there was 3 other neighbors that were involved in the issue there, and that the finance were going to be a lot more than $800 I had paid. So I asked them to see if the city could have a meeting with all the adjoining property owners to see, number one, if they wanted to go ahead with right-of-way vacation, if they were going to, if they're willing to pay their fair share of the funds that were required, and for the city to come up with a rough estimate on what it's going to cost to have the whole process done.
We've never received that report for the engineers. They must still be working on it.
I have one here that.
Sorry, Gary, we have not received a report from them
Okay.
or an email to that effect, so I will check in with Larry White.
Well, I talked to Larry White too twice and.
When was the last time you talked to him?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I haven't heard nothing back and, he talked to me back in. That's the memo that I sent back to them. Asking for the 3 items that I just mentioned. So I mean, the whole thing with this, if the neighbors don't, want to get involved with it. I've had my property surveyed and, it does no benefit to me whatsoever. It was all started with the Jennings family next door that wanted, because they have the driveway issue up there. I don't know if they've apparently dropped the whole thing or because I'm the only one apparently has signed it or filed any of the paperwork. So if nobody wants to go forward with it, I'm not funding the whole project because it doesn't really benefit. But I am willing to fund it with partial, with everyone else wants to get involved. So that's where I'm at now with it. So
I will check
follow up on that and see what.
I've got a call to Larry White. I'll just add that to the things
Yeah, Larry had talked to me. I talked to him first back in towards the end of March. And he had indicated that he had a possible solution.
Okay.
And I never heard anything back. So then 3 weeks ago, I called just to follow up with him. And he had indicated that he was going to get with somebody here and see what the works out. So
Okay.
the other item I have, is there any way to get the ball rolling on having these cactuses trimmed off up here on Church Street? Right here at East School Street, there's an area, they're about 3 feet into the street and it's about 25 feet long there that it's really narrowing down.
That's the first I've heard the request.
I don't know whose property it is. I don't know if it's part of yours here or if it's,
Is that city property?
but it's about this far into the street there.
I think we own it.
Okay. Well, we have, yes, we can look into that, Gary.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. Is there any other public comment this evening? And public comment will be closed. Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda, presentations, proclamations, appointments or correspondence. Within the agenda, there are 2 letters of correspondence just to share. One was a letter of invitation to Lizzie and one was a letter of support from council for our request for fuel break property east of town. Okay. Consent calendar items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the city council, will be enacted in one motion in the form listed. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless before the city council votes on the motion to adopt, members of the council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate conversation. The 3 items are the regular meeting agenda minutes of 16 May 2024, special meeting agenda minutes of 28 May 2024, and the financial fiscal statements. Is there a motion to approve them, or is there a request for them to be discussed separately?
I have one question for Holly. Did the insurance money get put into an account at Bank of Marin?
Not yet. It's in our regular bank account and we will be opening new bank accounts, next week at the new bank.
Okay. I just hate to lose that interest.
I do have a correction, the regular meeting agenda minutes of 16 May. It would be regular agenda item F. And that noted, that would be the minutes state review of Amador City's conflict of interest code. City must pass a resolution updating the code no later than June meeting, and that's October. So we have plenty of time for that. So if that could be
Later than October.
October. Any other separate discussion of agenda items? Is there a motion to approve these 3 agenda items with those notations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And roll call vote, Susan,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and
Aye.
Sandy, aye. So they are approved. There are no ordinances or public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to the regular agenda items. The first item on the agenda, item 9A, is a resolution related to the passage of Measure K. Once we had the ordinance in place, it turns out there were resolutions that followed.
Yeah, of course.
Anne would know
Yeah.
about this, and Susan. So this one establishes that there will be an agreement between the city of Amador City and the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration for that 0.25% sales tax increase that will go into effect when all this paperwork is processed, probably January 1st of 2025. But this resolution does state that we are resolved that this preparatory agreement and the administrative agreements are hereby approved and the city mayor is authorized to execute the agreements. Is there any discussion on these resolutions from the public? Public comment is closed within the city council members. Any discussion?
I think I read where there's some fees that we have to pay for
Within the
Admin-
preparatory agreements?
administering.
Well, if there are
Money.
fees incurred by the department, then we would be billed for them.
Yeah. So we will have to pay.
If there have fees incurred, such as if we request an audit of those and they incur fees within that audit, they can request that we pay for that.
Okay. Kind of.
No, we can have further discussion on that.
Susan, we'll take it out of your salary.
What's
We'll
that?
take it out of your salary.
I just don't want the fees to be more than the money we're getting.
Well, the good news is that any amount paid by the city for the department's preparatory costs will not exceed $175,000. Yeah,
I think that's what I read.
yeah, yeah, that will well exceed that 0.25% sales tax increase. Yes. This is their pretty standard boilerplate agreement. Yeah. Any further discussion on that?
It's just a concern.
We won't request an audit. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay, with that kind of consideration, is there a motion to approve resolution number 625?
Approve 625.
Is there a second?
Second,
We'll do roll call vote. Susan,
I,
Bruce,
Aye.
Ann,
right,
Sandy. The motion is approved. Resolution 625 is approved. Joyce and I will sign it after the meeting. The second item, 9B, is another resolution also related to Measure K. This one authorizes the city mayor and another party within the city government, and I named the city treasurer, to examine California Department of Tax and Fee Administration records pertinent to Amador City as required for implementation of the voter passed Measure K. If they require that there be 2 specified city council members to do this, authorized to do this. Is there any discussion of the resolution? From the general public, I'm sorry, I need to go to the public first. No, then public comments closed. Ann?
so I guess my question is, if there is a need to examine on behalf of the city, the records, is that something that possibly comes back to the council for discussion, like whatever your findings are?
Oh, I would, yes, if anything that involves city dollars, I would imagine must.
Yeah, okay,
Yes,
I will turn to the city manager for clarification.
yes.
Okay.
And then also it does, and that's the thing too, it's also, the other avenue would be like for the public, a public records request also.
Oh.
Dealing with it would also make that a possibility for information to be disseminated amongst the public.
Okay,
yeah, good.
okay. With those discussion points, is there any other comment on the resolution? Is there a motion to approve resolution number 626?
so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Bruce, second, okay, and roll call vote, Susan.
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Sandy, aye. So the motion, resolution number 626 is approved.
So,
Nope, at 626. We have 625, 626, and 627. It's a full plate tonight. Ready?
Mhm.
The next one, item 9C, resolution number 627, and I do have the substitute copy of this. I'm sorry. It was amended or corrected. I will point out the correction
I have a copy.
of the new one.
Yeah.
Okay, good. There you go. We'll pass that. Tape. There we go. The whereases are all the same. What was changed was one of the proposed projects. It is the third one down. And we had in there repair of a pothole, which was changed to redoing the crosswalk markings on Highway 49 Main Street as east of the Imperial and then south of Break-Even Brew.
Okay.
It seems much more pedestrian friendly. So with that substitution of project, this resolution, if when approved, would go forward to allocate the RMRA funds. So is there any public comment on resolution 627? Public comments closed. Any comment or discussion from council?
And we have these funds.
This will get us those funds. This is what our allocation is this year. This is the 8th year we participated. We will receive an estimated $5,180 in our road maintenance and road repair.
Which isn't much.
No, this is just from SB 1
And this is a resolution we pass every year.
every year. Yeah. So any other questions about the contents of resolution 627? Susan?
Okay, and these are the projects that
Mhm.
we're going to do with the money.
Yes, the projects for the public are routine weed abatement. That's on every year because the weeds grow every year. That's Old Highway 49 Main Street from South City limit sign to O'Neill Alley and Amador Creek Road from East School Street to the city limit. Next project is the East School Street stop sign road marking. That was rolled over from last year because the company we contracted for had not been able to complete their end of the project, so that will be continued. Then the crosswalk markings that were just mentioned, and the fourth one is weed abatement and tree removal around the solar speed signs, so they actually have solar access and do work. Okay,
So
so
I'd like the solar panel faces away from the sun,
mhm,
which I'm surprised Jeff Coleman, Jeff did.
mhm.
I'd like to have the panel face the sun.
Let me make a note of that. I think we can do that.
I looked at it though, the way the sign is made, that may be very difficult to do.
We can
Okay.
look into it.
I noticed one that the county did, they put the units separately, it's not all one package.
And we
Put
may
the
have to
battery up high and the solar panel up high.
Smart. 'Cause
So
that's-
nobody
that's
could
the
steal,
plan.
nobody could steal the battery and then the speed sign was down low. It would be nice to do that.
We may have to get a different bracket or something, because when I looked at it, it was, the way that one was constructed, it'd be difficult to change the orientation.
Mhm. These are the ones we got from ACTC, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. All right, I made a note to look into that.
Okay,
Okay.
the county did theirs right.
Mhm,
It
yeah,
just seems like we should have done ours right.
yeah. I also wish we had the ones that really flashed. They're kind of festive. So back to the resolution. Any other comment on resolution number 627 for SB 1 funds?
I move we approve.
Second,
second,
roll call vote. Susan?
Aye.
Bruce?
I,
Ann? Sandy, aye. So the motion is approved. Thank you all. And then item number 9D, updated proposal from Amador County Recreation Agency, ACRA, to provide maintenance and upkeep for Amador City garden beds and properties. Bruce. There is an attachment, the email attachment that was from,
Did everybody get a copy of that?
yes, detailed analysis. It was included in the packet. It was from Michael Rock,
Right.
the director.
He's the director.
Mhm.
And this is 200
This would be
a month.
200 a month, item 9D. I'll show Bruce's.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't,
Oh, you don't have one?
in case I don't-
Never mind. Okay. Can you have it in? I'll read
For
it.
sure, yeah.
I'll read it
That's
into
good.
the record. Hi Bruce, here's the detailed analysis and proposal for one-time costs and ongoing costs in Amador City. The flower beds that are in town are numbered 1 through 7, so he referenced that. And the work that would be done by the crew from Accra is to remove weeds and poppies once they're dead from all flower beds, leaving only the ground cover, and an estimated 10 hours over the course of the year for that. Patio area, number 9, weed eat the area behind the museum, pull weed, which is city property, pull weeds from the patio area and apply weed killer if we so desire that. There's a wince over here because somebody doesn't like weed killer. And so that we can negotiate that part.
Right.
But that is estimated at about 3 hours per year. The Pocket Park, number 10, which is up the stairs on the other side, correct?
On the other side of the museum,
Mhm.
south side.
Yes, south side. Weed eat the area behind pull weeds, weed eat around the area, kiosk sign and the hillside. That's estimated at about 2 hours per year. The cemetery, remove brush and debris, weed eat entire area, including around headstones, trim overhanging and or dead branches and remove them from the area. Say, remove the debris. And that's about 16 hours per year and probably be scheduled seasonally as appropriate. The park, our park to the side or over here. Weed eat the area, including under benches, along fence line, walkways, and around playground. Trim overhanging branches and remove. Pull weeds and remove moss from brick area under picnic tables and apply weed killer, perhaps not. Make walking paths clear of debris. That's about 8 hours per year. And then maintaining the park. Oh, that's a separate park. Then maintaining park. There are 2 parks apparently. Do we have 2 parks?
We do have culvert costs.
And then ongoing costs.
That's not, so that sounds like that's a one-time.
Oh, Pat, you're right. It's a maintaining. I'm sorry. It is. There's, yes,
got a bid for the first time that,
correct. You're,
it to a maintainable level and then
mhm.
their prices are somewhat lower for the maintenance than for the initial one.
Thank you. And the maintaining the park is 2 hours per week, including weed eating, pulling of weeds, emptying trash, blowing off the playground, keeping flower beds clear of weeds and debris. It's about 8 hours per month. They estimate they're proposing a flat hourly rate of $25 per hour to cover all labor costs. The ongoing monthly cost would be 8 hours per month of their crews, so about 2 hours per week, at $25 per hour or about $200 per month. So that is the proposal.
Sandy, can you repeat what the cost for the initial, like all of the once a year things?
It is all rolled into.
All rolled into the
All rolled in
200.
because
Okay,
they don't anticipate coming in and doing
Yep.
32 hours. It would be
Yep.
2 hours a week, and these are the jobs we will do on a season appropriate basis, with the park being the priority.
Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha. And then at this particular time, because we are looking at budget items, we do have money budgeted for parks that we have not tapped into that would easily be able to cover this cost of $200 per month. So it's not coming up with a new line item or taking any other money out of another fund or general fund. So any discussion from the general public on this proposal from Accra?
Incredible. It's wonderful.
Can I repeat your comment just because you've got such a soft voice?
Yeah, I said, I thought it was incredibly fair, a wonderful thing. It may or may not be enough, but it is wonderful.
Thank you. So a voice of support for this. This tool in the toolbox of maintaining city properties. Any other comment from the public? Public comment will be closed. Any comment from the council or staff?
Yeah,
Seems reasonable.
yeah, it seems reasonable to me, and I also want to thank Bruce. I want to thank Bruce for all the work that he's done to so
Yeah.
far. And he has the scars to prove it.
But that's part of this whole process,
Mhm.
is volunteers.
Yes,
Get a certain number of volunteers to help out.
yes, yeah, I'm sure that they'll be, yeah,
ACRA can't do everything.
for sure. But if we have people doing the basic stuff, it's easier for the volunteer to go in and plant flowers or, you know,
Or help.
yeah,
It's real easy to pull small weeds.
yeah, for sure. But anyway, yes, but I do appreciate everything you do, Bruce.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce. So do we have a motion to go forward with this proposal?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Susan?
Aye.
Bruce?
Hi,
Ann?
Hi.
Sandy? Aye. The motion's approved, so we will move forward on solidifying the contract. Susan?
And Anne was the second.
Ann was the second. Sorry, Joyce. Okay. Well, I think that's lovely, because again, I think we've all been acknowledging that this is just, there are a couple of tools, as you said, volunteers, as you said, this ACRA contract, to kind of keep things at a certain maintained level, and then whatever else is necessary after that. So thank you all. Item 9E, proposal from Gutierrez Landscaping for cleanup of Amador Creek east from the fence at the Luxembourg property, west to and slightly beyond the sewer pond. And attached is a, well, I said graph, it's not really graph, it's just bullet points. And I'll be glad to read it over. I met with Sergio Gutierrez and we discussed with the proposal. The purpose is fourfold: fire mitigation, flood mitigation, protect sewer pond from debris going down, and general aesthetics. It looks much more lovely to be cleaned up. The scope, as I said, is the starting point on the east, the fence at Luxembourg property, west towards the sewer pond and slightly beyond. Proposed work schedule: his crew can come Saturdays and he would send a crew of 3, a crew of 4, whatever he felt his crew needed, what was needed for the task. And they can start as soon as this Saturday, and they want to start while the vegetation is still green because it's much easier to clean the creek out in those circumstances. The quote for 2024 is $6,300 for creek cleanup only. They will stack the debris for being hauled away by someone else, which is what they've done in the past. But for an additional $1,000, the crew will haul the debris away. He estimates that it would take his crew 4 Saturdays to do the work. Last year, when this crew did the work, it was the cost was $5,600 for creek cleanup only. So it's an additional $700 this year for creek cleanup only, but they will add on hauling away the debris. Comments from the general public regarding the proposal at this point?
Did you get any other bids?
We would have to put this out for other bid if under certain circumstances. This was a bid that came to us.
I'm gonna suggest that too.
What happens if we don't do it?
Then we have dry debris in that creek bed, which will dry in another month. And that becomes a funnel for fire, just like a chimney, right up that. It also doesn't look lovely. And then it becomes a flood problem depending upon how heavy the rains are once the rainy season starts.
It seems to need to be done.
It does need to be done. And so it's a question of who and when. And so that's part of the conversation.
Are there funds to do it?
My turn.
I turn to
Go on,
you.
So.
The question's been asked.
It has been. So initially, when we received the quote, there was concern to that amount. Again, a price above a certain threshold does require multiple bids. And so, but first is the question of, doesn't matter how many bids we get, can we afford it as a city? And so we actually have in our avail about $8,750 through our SARA fund, which is earmarked for certain things to be done. And one of those is mitigation of liability, which if we have a fire, of course, and the city is found liable, this is the opportunity for us to mitigate that. The beauty of that is, of that $8,750, $5,250 has to be earmarked by the 30th of this month. So if the council does approve, this is the project to be undertaken. That is an earmark of those funds, and we do not lose those funds to SARA. Now, let me explain. SARA is our insurance company. And so if we by earmarking those funds at this meeting by vote, then those funds can be used. Otherwise, we do lose those funds if they're not earmarked. So now again, the project doesn't have to be completed by the 30th of June. It has to be completed by the calendar year, the actual calendar year, not the fiscal calendar year. But once earmarked, they can be used and dispersed. So in essence, if you approve this project and give the stipulation that we fall within close to this bid, whether it's this bid or another, to the council, then those earmark funds I can disperse as appropriate to have that project completed. And it actually doesn't cost the city a thing because we're using those funds from our insurance company.
Okay, any other questions, general public?
I would just like to make a suggestion that we put out RFPs earlier in the year to see if we get any other bids and what those would be. And has anyone ever considered the Conservation Corps getting involved in projects such as this?
The CYA camp does not exist in the county anymore.
Or it doesn't?
No, it does not. And Susan's going to bring up, another option that we may, be able to discuss and look at, whether it's this year or in the future. It's been turned from a youth authority camp who did the work for us in the past for other cities, but it has been dissolved and the youth are back in their home counties, and it's now parolee. They're not parolees. They are. It's a camp for adults who are low risk and who are getting trained to work in conjunction with CAL FIRE, and it's a small crew. So that's what the camp is now. Your comment on, putting out RFPs earlier is well received. The fact that Sergio Gutierrez came up to us, he did the cemetery work. He's done other creek work. He did the creek work last year. He's a known entity. But again, it is over the threshold, and we are going to have to get, a couple other bids, or at least put out to get a couple other bids.
Well, that's the thing. The council will need to advise. There's a timeline.
It's a
to that.
timeline.
So you can put out for bid.
But there's
And we
time.
don't get the money.
No, we
won't-
still can get the money. The council needs to approve
A
the
bid.
creek cleaning, that money tonight. If you do that
Mhm.
by
Right.
motion
I
tonight,
see.
that earmarks those funds. But then also, given the status of the creek,
Mhm.
the timeline for getting it done, you need a timeline for responses to those bids, because that's if you put it out for bid and there's no responses, then you're not relegated to say we can't use that one. You just have to you have to attempt to get the bids,
Mhm.
whether you get them or not.
Okay.
What timeframe are you talking about for issuing an RFP and then getting responses? Would it be done soon enough before, the creek dries out?
My suggestion would be to the council to make that RFP to do it by Monday and give it a week and a half to 2 weeks. And whatever responses come, then a executive decision is chosen on which company to go with and then to move forward. So it wouldn't start this Saturday, but could conceivably start well within that area where the foliage is still green and still is doable before we get into the fireworks season.
Sounds good.
Mhm. Any other questions from public? And I'll close public comment and open it up to council and staff.
Yeah, I talked to Sutter Creek to see who they use to clear their creek. And Claire, the mayor, said that they deal with CAL FIRE. They're much cheaper than the contractor. And I'm wondering about Accra, who we just agreed to have us clear areas. We should ask them.
They are not a landscaping crew.
Well, they're gonna be maintaining other areas of landscaping.
I'm not sure.
It's worth, it's
Not
worth,
sure how many they have.
yeah, it's
Well,
it's worth asking.
I showed up here, it was just two.
Yeah, and they work weekdays. So for 2 hours a week, it would take a long time to get our creek clear.
No, I just
But-
asked
Susan, could I ask on Sutter Creek's CAL FIRE, when did they have?
I'm sorry, I have more to add to that, and which may be part of your question or add to your question. Susan gave me contact information for CAL FIRE, which I did follow through with, and the crew that does that is now busy. And the person to make the arrangements with is on vacation. He'll be back next week and give me a call for the details. I also called Sutter Creek and I spoke to their vice mayor, who I just happened to know, and asked about the CAL FIRE. There is a bit of confusion. She said, oh no, they only came and did a creek. They did a ditch, not the whole creek. And then called to get information on what was paid, and no one seemed to know what the fee was or the scope of the work, how long the work took, or what was charged for that. So we have various pieces of information that don't suggest.
It's worth asking.
Well, we're not getting it from Sutter Creek. We can ask CAL FIRE.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I also want to point out, this is not the time of year they're going to be free to do our creek.
That was the thing. 2 weeks ago, there were guys standing around the fire station at CAL
Yeah.
FIRE. Now,
Not now.
we've got them dispatched all over the state because
Yeah.
they've got raging wildfire.
I have a question for Joyce. Don't we usually clear the creek more in the fall than right now?
We have in the past, yeah, but I think last year, let's see, well, last year.
It was this time of year.
September, October,
Yeah.
I think it
I don't remember that.
I think it was September.
I have to say that my conversation with Sergio is he does not want to do it in the fall again when the foliage is dead. First of all, we missed the fire mitigation issue, and secondly, it's a lot harder for his crew.
Yeah, and I do think that that was in part because we did not activate sort of the project early enough in in the late spring to do it until he was available in the fall.
It just seems like if we do it too early, it'll just keep growing.
I don't think we're getting any more rain.
But we're not getting more, I think that we're not getting any more rain right now.
It's wet. It's probably wet down
A
there.
little bit wet. It's drying up
It's
fast.
drying up really quickly.
I wanted to add a couple of things. First is, I ran into Connie Peterson last night, who lives around the creek, and probably every time I run into her, she says, when are they gonna clean the creek? So, residents are anxious.
Which property is Connie Peterson?
Connie's is the blue
Okay,
house just
got it.
over the bridge.
Yeah.
And this is something we discussed last year, and I don't want to make this is, in my opinion, not an obstacle to doing this. But when, in the days when we had the youth authority doing our creek cleaning, we compensated them by buying them some piece of equipment they needed. So the cost for us was really low.
Yeah.
Now that we have to hire somebody to do it, obviously the cost goes up, and anyone who's hired people to do stuff in your yard, that it's not cheap and it's not easy to find people to do it. Why this is of consequence is that a lot of the creek is privately owned. It's not all city property. And, we have residents who, like Connie, who expect the creek to be cleaned. And I just want to sort of have it in the record that by undertaking this, the city is not making can't make a commitment every year to clear private property. And it's not because I don't think it's a great idea. We have the source of funding, so we may as well move forward and do it. But that I do get concerned about that, that that we could end up using public funds for, you know, the
Mhm.
benefit of private citizens.
I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that was the other Sutter Creek comment that came, was that it's the responsibility of citizens who have property on the
Yeah.
creek to clean that. And a lot of their creek that is in town is private, is
Yeah,
got private homes adjacent to it. Now, I did look at the maps to see how many properties had their property line extend halfway into the
Mhm.
creek, because those are the ones that would be
Yeah.
affected if we did institute something like that. And of the properties west of the little bridge
Mhm.
here going towards the sewer pond, there are only two for sure, possibly a third that had that.
yeah.
And there are about 5 or 6 properties along in there.
Mhm.
Is that about right? So we
Yeah.
we fall awkwardly again as a very small community
Yes.
into
Yeah.
3 out of 6 in age. I understand.
Yeah, and
It's on record now.
Yeah, and I'm not, yeah, I'm not suggesting that we don't do this by any means. I
Mhm.
mean, I think it's a service to the whole town to have it done.
Mhm.
I've got a question. Do you have an ordinance or anything that says that people that own the property next to the creek are financially responsible for it? Because if we continue doing it for them, they're gonna keep saying that it's been grandfathered in. We've done it every year that passed, but we need a legal base in order to say, well, this is the resolution. This is the ordinance.
I think part of the hard part there is I own along the creek. And I don't own into the creek because, and that's the funny part. According to past records, it does say that I own the creek halfway. But then when we had our survey done a couple years ago, because of the way that, you know, back in the day, they were like, this brick wall marks the edge, there's no brick wall anymore. And so they go ahead and meets the bounds. I don't now own the halfway into the creek. And so I think that's the issue and probably why there is no ordinance other than a nuisance ordinance.
Yeah.
Because that is so unspecified along the creek. A good example of that, we had a deer fall in the creek about 3 years ago, and it was right in the middle. And the property owners argued whose it was because where it fell. It's
A year and a half.
right. So to answer your question, at this moment, we do not. And the problem is because if you're talking about precedent of doing it, we have done it for so many years. To argue that the precedent wouldn't apply now would be futile because we've been doing it for, I mean, we've been doing it since I was a kid. So, you know, I've seen it done every year. So on that basis, I think it's very difficult for us to now come back and say,
You
here's
three
the ordinance,
property
you three ordinance, are gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because then again, they would argue, do I really own the creek or is it city property? And then it's going to probably lead to more people having to have surveys done and follow what I did to figure that out. So.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yep.
Well,
We are
I still think
outliers.
we should try to get some other prices.
We've been given this year and the fact that we have money for it.
Yeah, I just hate to spend all of our insurance funds on it.
We have to spend 5,000.
250.
Yeah,
We have to?
we have
We
to.
have to earmark it for a project that is related to mitigation. And so given the council's previous vote to have those projects done, either through the RMA funds or through ACRA, most of the mitigation has already been taken care of by this council this evening, which then leaves those funds available for one big project such as the creek. So it would be my advice at this point, while we can seek other bids and should, this is the project that the entirety of those funds should go to clean it, because that is ultimately our biggest risk for Amador City and our liability if something were to happen, especially now because we have it on the record of discussing the potential for fire and mitigation. And so if the council doesn't act.
Are you saying to use the RMRA money?
No, I'm saying to use the SIRA money for this.
Oh.
Because we've already earmarked those other funds.
So I did want to say one other thing. I highly recommend that we all pay the $1,000 to have them haul the debris.
Thank you.
Because, we did work with Dominic and they did do some chipping, but now there's piles of chip by the creek. And that is also flammable, right? And
Well,
it becomes a burden sometimes, and again, said like Connie Peterson or some of the property owners are not in a position to remove the debris themselves. And I would, and I think it's, if we're gonna do it, we should do that part of it too.
I want to bird walk back a little bit, because when we put out the all call to get volunteers to help with the
Mhm.
burn piles or the chipping, of course, it's a weekday, because, and they had to do it on a day when the humidity was low, the temperature was low, there was no wind, they weren't called to a fire, so there wasn't a lot of lead up time either. But you got Bruce and me and Ian wonderfully we had some muscle there, because you can get any muscle over here. And Bob Canody, Hal Gamble, and Jason Lewis. And out of us, there were 2 able-bodied people of an age to do that kind of walking and lifting. And that was only part of the creek. It is worth $1,000
It is
to have
absolutely
them
worth
haul it
$1,000.
away.
On
Yeah.
the southern part,
Yeah.
it's not only are they able-bodied, they're there with it, whereas
They're-
for someone else to come back after the fact
When
has
it's
to gain
dry,
access with the equipment that they already have in the creek as they're doing it
yeah,
to dispose of that.
Yeah.
so good
That
point.
is my hearty recommendation.
Yes, so thank you for that. I think we've had a lot of discussion about this, and I think both from public comment and from comments of council members and discussion here, it's clear that this is a process that city council needs to institute earlier in the year and calendar for preparation for the creek to be cleaned, maybe starting mid-June, depending upon how dry, how low the water level's getting. But this year, we didn't do that. So speaking about this year, and given that we have a funding source with a timeline attached to it, do we have discussion or need more discussion about moving forward to allocate those funds towards this mitigation project and putting out bids? Do we have more discussion on that?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
So since the bid is more than $5,000, are we required by law to go out to bid for it?
We are.
And we should have last year, and we didn't,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Well, I think the reason why last year I can speak to that is we received a bid, I believe it was under it, and then it exceeded it based upon the timeline
Oh.
and the work.
Ah.
So again, because we paid those in installments last year,
mhm.
I think the excess came because of the last installment and the fact that I think it was mentioned earlier, the later in the season you do it, the harder it is for the crew to do it,
Mhm.
which then results in additional time, and we are being billed for that time, because again, I'll just make the point, this is a bid. Ultimately, the final bill could be different, but I think they're much more accurate when they're dealing with green vegetation versus dry.
But I think, I just want to kind of go back to whether we're required to go out and get other bids. I thought you just recommended that we go with their bid.
I can't we have the one bid. My recommendation to the council is that you take this bid under advisement. And then we seek other bids if we get any others, but you give the city staff.
Yeah.
Which sounds, authority to then contract with whatever bid is appropriate.
Yeah, I also think there should be a second part. I think we should approve allocating the ceremony, number one.
Mhm.
And then I think we should approve authorizing city staff to go out to bid and select among the bids the best one to proceed with the project.
Can we, and what would be, we talked briefly about a timeline, if Sergio's crew, I'm expecting that whenever we put something out for bid, we're lucky if we get another bid.
We should make the bids
Mhm,
either 10 to 14 days.
mhm,
The minimum you could do is a week.
mhm.
I know that's feasible,
That's
that's available.
I think we should do it for a week because
do
I think
too.
we are
We're
in the
losing
window for
time.
doing this.
Uh-huh.
We're
So,
running out.
so then staff could, with Joyce's help, we can get that bid processed, that information processed either Friday or Monday,
Mhm.
one week.
Mhm.
If we have another bids, then we can act on those. If not, we can, the council can authorize to go with the current bid that we have.
Mhm.
Because again, the point is, it's not the requirement that you get multiple bids, it's that you request
Request
multiple bids.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so the first part of that, as Ann said, suggested, would be a motion to allocate the SERA funds towards this fire and flood mitigation project.
So moved.
Is there a second? Roll call vote. Susan?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
And Sandy, aye. That motion is approved and we'll go forward. So we've allocated those funds. Second motion would be to take this bid that has been presented with the addition of hauling away the debris under advisement and put out a request for proposal for additional bids since it's over $5,000 within a 1-week time frame, and authorize our city staff to move forward on the bid that is most attractive,
Why do we have to say over $5,000?
because that's the,
That's the law.
yeah.
What if they want to bid under $5,000?
We have to put it out to bids. So we can't accept this out of hand because it's over $5,000. So we have to get somebody else might bid less than 5,000.
Yeah, no, any time a project exceeds $5,000, Susan, that's submitted to us, we are required by law to seek multiple bids for that particular project. So it doesn't mean that's the bid, that's the price or the bid we'll receive. It's just any project, whether you as a council come up with that, or we see the project based upon a current bid is going to exceed that amount, we then have to make it available. Otherwise, it looks like potential favoritism to a single company, which a city or a government entity cannot do.
So we don't say it's over.
No, we don't. We just say, hey, we have a project. We're gonna put it out for bid. Please submit your bids.
Oh, so your comment was on me stating that within the motion. Got it. Okay, so.
I think the law is that you can't accept a bid over $5,000 unless you've done the
Due diligence.
solicitation of bids and you're directing staff, specifically Dave, to find the lowest responsible bidder and go with that bid and do it quickly because there's urgency.
Okay.
That's essentially what the.
I have a question, is this ceremony available every year, or is this a one-time only thing?
No, it is available every year. The amount does vary.
Okay.
So, but they do submit, I sit on the board of records, so I can speak to this. Essentially what it is the CERA is a JPA, so it's a lot of little cities that have joined together to pool their money as an insurance company. And so based upon what happens within the calendar or fiscal year, there are certain amounts that get set aside, but also if certain funds aren't used, then they're remitted to the cities.
Which is why we have to use
Right,
it.
so that's why we have to use it.
Mhm.
Does that answer your
Anna,
question?
you had a question?
I was just, a suggestion is just to communicate with schedule about the timeline, because my concern is that within the time frame, he might find other work. And if we don't get another bid, then, I imagine there would be a bigger community volunteer day going on. But I'd probably, help for it, but, I know how it works in landscaping companies, and he could end up committing himself to another project.
Ian, I thank you for pointing that out. That was a part of the conversation he and I had, because just in terms of transparency, when we were meeting out in the street, I wanted to make sure that he understood what the city is constrained by as well. And he fully understood, that we had to have the meeting tonight. We had to then conditionally kind of approve a project. And because of the rate, then we would have to solicit a bid. And probably the earliest he'd be able to start would be 10 days from now, the Saturday following this. And he was, as you said, he understood that information. Yeah, but, we are at risk of then approving everything, getting the money for it, and then not having a landscaper available.
Yeah.
So,
What is the time frame when we get the money from Sarah?
we bill them, don't we?
I mean,
We send them, we spend,
We will pay for it out of the general fund, and then we get reimbursed.
but we don't.
It's It's almost immediate.
When did they set the amount that we will be getting,
Oh, it's already set.
but for next year?
Oh, that's not the next fiscal calendar year. But then again, that varies based upon, so really, it's actually money from the previous year. So that money is not even determined at this point until the end of the fiscal year,
Which is
July.
July, so that's coming up,
It is.
okay. Well, I was just thinking that we should move up our request for proposals much earlier than we've done now, based on knowing the amount of money that we would have to spend.
Right, which they will release that to us within a reasonable time
Okay.
following the end of the fiscal year, so in the new fiscal year. So, and they do, like I just was at their board of directors this month, they do have projections of what they think it may be. So we can act on that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so again, public comment will be closed and then back to city council. Any more discussion on breaking this into two different motions? The first motion being to establish the use of SERA funds for fire mitigation, flood mitigation of the Amador Creek.
So moved.
We already did that. We already voted.
Did we vote on that?
We voted on.
I blank.
Sounded
Okay.
familiar.
Need to
Thank
now
you.
vote on the
Tony's-
approval of,
No wonder it came out so trippingly. I know, I practiced. Okay, so the second part then is to conditionally authorize our city manager to formally accept a bid after we have put out a request for proposal with a 1-week time limit for a landscaping crew to take care of the work, doing the mitigation and hauling away of debris for everything in Amador Creek.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Susan, we'll vote, roll call vote. Bruce,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Sandy, aye. So that motion is approved and we will go forward with that and we'll put out a request for proposal with a 1-week timeline.
so just so the council's aware, those funds have now already been encumbered by email to Sarah.
Good, okay, good job. The multitasking, thank you. Item 9F, report on discussion with Amador County Animal Control regarding their board direction to begin charging for services based on average cost per animal. And to clarify that, that is to charge cities. Animal Control is a county entity and operates under county and state funds. And the city has been graced with them swooping, the 5 cities in Amador County have had their services in the past years without being charged. However, their mandate and the way the law reads, the cities need to be paying their portion because otherwise we are being gifted county dollars for the care of city animal control issues. So their board has directed them to do a fee for services, and the email, I met with them Wednesday, and here are an email recap of that conversation. And again, to get it in the record, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, I have
read
it.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, pass that over, Dave and Pat. And here you go. And the reason we can't have a contract, Pat, is because we do not have an ordinance that aligns with the regulations that they operate under from the state. We have an ordinance in that effect.
Years ago, I wrote the Amador County.
Yeah, well, with the cities need to do something like that. So that's why we don't have a contract. Last year when they met with us, they made a proposal that was by every city, including ours, roundly argued against, and they were basing their fee on population. And, it isn't the population that they're working with, it's the animal costs. So they reworked everything and had a lot of mathematical formulas out for everything. But what they've come up with is basing it on a 10-year average of animals recorded at the shelter from each entity, each city. This would be from Amador City, and using the animal control 2023 budget to total a fiscal impact. So based on the average animal calls over the past 10 years, or animals that are recorded at the shelter being housed there, the average is 3 per year. We are a small number in terms of the bigger numbers they're dealing with. And looking at their budget for this year, it's about $891 to shelter an animal there. And that doesn't include the veterinary fees or other costs that they may incur. But using that number, we are capped 3 times that amount at $2,054.20. So if there are 4 animals sheltered this fiscal year or surrendered to animal control, then we would be charged the $2,054.20. If there were 4 more animals that were sheltered there for whatever reason, we would be capped at that amount. So 8 animals would still be capped at this, just the 4.
How often will they recalculate?
I think they're probably going to do it. Well, they base this on a 10-year average. So if they stick to that, it would just be whatever that average comes up with.
So consider readjusted every year because they get a new 10-year average every year.
Yeah, right now, this is a 1-year sort of policy for them.
Okay.
Then beginning July 1st, the county will begin to charge each city a flat rate of $862.14 for each animal that comes to the shelter. So that was the proper amount. I misspoke that. And then they talked about how they calculated it. And then again, if the number of animals received reaches that cap, no further charges will be sent our way. But field services, so if they get a call that there's a loose dog in the street, that's charged directly at a rate of $83.29 per hour for the fiscal year of 2023-2024, when an officer is requested to respond from the sheriff's department. So a citizen may call the sheriff will call animal control suits up, gets in the car, we pay mileage, and we start paying an hourly fee for them to come out about the dog loose in the street. Field services are not included in the cap and will be billed separately per incident. Other charges for field services may apply, for example, if medical treatment is needed. What we talked about, and they were very nice in acknowledging that Amador City is an outlier in this regard because we are so small and we have an average of only 3 animals being at the shelter any one year, and they don't really get calls from us. But what we agreed upon with them, the sheriff gets a call, calls animal control calls Dave and me, because we may know whose dog that is loose in the street, and be able to sort of handle that within the city without incurring costs for it. And then, of course, if it's a situation that can't be handled by the city, they would come and take care of it, and we would know that we were going to be billed for it. The reason this is being read on the record and discussed is that citizens need to know that to not frivolously call the sheriff's department regarding something, which our citizens don't. But in terms of going in the future, we will be billed. And if the dog is owned by someone in town and the dog is chipped and animal control has access to who that owner is, the owner will be billed. So they are no longer going to gift county dollars for the care of animals within city limits. And that's the plan we have agreed upon for this year on a handshake agreement, because we can't do a contract because we don't have the ordinance. No other cities have it either. So that would be something probably that will happen in the future. Is there any discussion, Gary?
So if you call on a barking dog,
Yes.
something like that,
Yes,
it'd just be natural for the citizens to call the sheriff's office. So I mean, they're not gonna call you or Dave to.
no, but if they call the sheriff's office and the sheriff calls animal control calls Dave and me. But
The sheriff probably won't those come out.
no, they won't. They do not come for barking dogs.
Oh,
They will call, they go to animal control. They won't come out for anything, but they know that they will get the calls.
so does the city go after now? So if somebody, I take my dog up and turn in, you guys are gonna pay to, you guys
No.
go back after that?
If you go and surrender the dog, you will be billed.
Yeah.
Because you will be the dog owner.
Right.
And if they can
That's not
establish
what
that.
this says, that,
Hmm?
I thought that what you said was for the field costs.
Um,
Are we saying that we are going to, if you surrender your dog to the shelter
and you're a dog owner, you will be billed.
by the city?
No,
They have a.
they,
No, I know the shelter will bill the city, but is the city in turn?
No, like if Gary himself goes and takes his dog and says, I'm
Correct.
done,
Yeah,
Gary gets the bill.
yeah,
It's if the dog is wandering about the city.
Okay, I see. Okay,
And
they
so
bill,
the
the
cost.
city doesn't. Okay,
Yeah, you're right. We're not gonna be the middleman in billing.
okay.
It's a
They
good
already
question,
do that, so
good question.
Know that when my dog escaped and has
Mm,
been caught, they have a set fee for that.
mhm.
Okay,
They do. And, but when it goes to the barking dog is really more of a matter of, we probably need, it's like somebody parking and blocking your driveway, probably more efficient to go over and ask them to move their car, or could they quiet their dog, than to call the sheriff. And then if that isn't resolved, that turns into another issue, and we do have ordinances on nuisance that can be used. So, is that helpful?
I just want that, I was like.
I know.
This is based on what, I don't have a complaint with anybody right now, I'm just throwing it out there, who's gonna get charged for it?
Yeah, I know, it is interesting.
The city was getting kind of unfairly charged for everything that happens to somebody else's dog, you know?
If they can establish the dog owner gets charged.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So I just want to clarify again,
Mm.
our rate, I'm sorry, you need to have public comment first.
Okay, and Paul had a question.
Brian,
Brian, sorry, Brian.
If a deer gets hit and dies in the middle of Main Street, you folks get charged for the animal control taking it away?
I can answer that, and Ann can as well, because this just happened this week. Yeah, well, if this is an animal at the side of the road and it was on city property. No one comes for wildlife that has been hit unless it is a road nuisance. And animal control will not come for wildlife that's been hit and in the bushes. Animal control will not come onto your property if there's an animal that crawls on and dies on your property.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so that's not their jurisdiction, and it's not the sheriff's. But Caltrans, if it's on the highway, will move it off the highway, but not haul it away. And if I left anything out, the buzzards take care of it in about 3 days.
We've had some of those situations, and we're a small rural county, and people call their neighbors who have a dozer or a pickup truck, and if they need help, and maybe move it to property that's not directly close to their house.
Well, I can speak to that too. I had one probably get hit by a car and then collapse on my property. And so it sat there for a couple days. I made all those phone calls, hoping it wasn't gonna be me. And in the end, it was me. I borrowed a trailer, back to that next to it, drug it on, and the dump will take it for $40.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, good, part B, okay,
So-
good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, and animal control, we had this conversation just at the end of when I was meeting with them. And they were laughing, they're saying, the cities just love the deer in town and the turkeys in town until something gets hit by a car. Then they're not so happy about it. So, it's, they answer the question, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Joyce?
Well, I always get my pets from the animal shelter.
I think
they're going to be competitive.
Good question. One in, one out.
So what exactly is our bill?
We don't have one yet. Last year, we haven't had any animal calls this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's keep it that way. Yeah, so, and the other thing, let's just say, somebody's ranch, the cows get out, they're in city property. We can shoo them back over the county line, and then they're not our problem.
Excellent.
Yes, so I just, it's a good thing the city limits are small.
Dump the deer over the city line.
If you've got a tractor,
If you've
Joe,
got a
haul it
tractor,
up
somebody-
onto the highway, because then Caltrans will do something.
no one sees you do it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's like a genetic, changing the cost,
Mhm. So with that, there's no action on that item. That was just to sort of report that meeting and what the outcome will be, and that we do need to be prepared for $2,054.32 or something.
Sandy, I do have
Oh,
still a
sorry.
couple of questions.
Okie dokie,
Okay, so
ready.
this is not gonna be, they're not gonna send us an annual bill for 2054. They're
No.
gonna send us a bill for 862 every time
Per animal.
an animal gets turned in from Amador City. And, okay, and then, if somebody surrenders their animal, that's not, that we don't get charged for that. So what this means is that these animals are getting picked up by animal control.
Or it could be a stray that somebody surrenders and they are not the owner. And then
Because-
but see, one of the things they're reluctant to do. Oh, I need to back up. I said that the owner who surrendered an animal would be charged. I was wrong. The city will be. And the reason that that is true is because if an owner is charged for surrendering an animal, the outcome from data all over the state is that people just abandon animals.
So, but sort of back, so when an animal gets surrendered by, when somebody has to come and collect the animal, we will also be charged for the field time.
Yes, we will.
So that's actually a likely scenario.
Yes.
Should we pass an ordinance that we get reimbursed
By the owner.
by the owner?
I don't know, but I mean, so I just wanted to clarify
Mhm.
that this,
If they
this
come-
really, we don't get charged extra if I pick up a dog and take it to the animal shelter, that doesn't count unless it's my own dog.
Mm.
And, okay, I just was,
So everybody just heard that Ann's gonna be picking up stray dogs.
Oh,
if I can catch him.
Sorry.
yeah,
Chase them over the.
yeah. And this is, again, they are still working out the details of this. This is not, this is a starting point.
Yeah.
And because they are meeting they still are meeting with, 2 other cities. And depending upon any changes that come about,
Mhm.
we will be the recipient of that. We will benefit from that because the other cities are negotiating really hard and fast,
Yeah.
as you might imagine.
And I just want to, for those of you who were not here when we got the initial contract
Mhm.
from Animal Services, they were originally asking us for $12,000 a year. So this sounds actually
getting-
really,
it's getting
this sounds
better.
really good to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They were looking at their overall budget and then distributing it based on population with the kind of an assumption that, you know, every other home had animals and therefore there would be this proportion of calls. And very rightly argued very strongly against that, as did other mayors at that time.
Yep.
So, okay, so we will probably have more on this, but this was the initial meeting, the initial conversation, and we will, you know, that $2,054.20 and the rate per hour for calls, field calls, those will
are
stay.
fixed.
There'll be nuances in some of the details. Okay. Okay, so with that, we move to item 10, administrative reports and comments, city managers report. Dave.
So I'll make it brief, with Vice Mayor Keller Pinion's help, and keeping us on our toes, which is a good thing. Larry White, who's our city inspector, and myself are working with Campbell to figure out the striping.
Mhm.
So the equipment has been picked, it hasn't been purchased for the pickleball court as well as the basketball court, that will be purchased, but we did seek Campbell's advice, Jeff Campbell, because he did the Center Creek and he's done others. And he said volunteer work is great in a lot of circumstances. However, when it comes to a park, he says it's very intricate and detailed to get it correct. And so he suggested that he do it, and so he submitted us a bid of, it was like $1,300, yeah, $1,300 or something, and they'll have it done in a day, and so. I'm working with Larry White to get that figured out, but that's the bulk of that, but then. Once we get that completed, then we can actually submit to the state the completion report.
Yep.
Anne was hopeful, as were we, that we could get it done by this meeting. Unfortunately, due to other circumstances, it hasn't happened, but we'll be done next month. So, and then of course, this month, we've already talked a little bit about Sarah, my attendance there, representing Amador City, making sure that we're included in all the decisions and the voting powers, and it's been good for us. and the responses that we get, and, you know, having that relationship so that we can know what these funds are and then, of course, be able to use them. So I'll just leave it with that.
Well, good, thank you. Pat, city attorney?
Well, the only news that I have is my own personal news that I'm having knee surgery on July 8th.
Okay.
Hope to be available for, to go to the meeting, and maybe then my wife will have to drive me, because I'm not supposed to do this. My right knee was, clutch, or excuse me, brake and accelerator foot.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
that's having knee surgery July 8th.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Susan was-
don't have any other, and the other thing on that
Mhm.
item was referred to me, I got the documentary information about the city expenditures
Mhm.
on the sewer repairs. And I got that today or yesterday, and I looked at it this evening, and I'm gonna be preparing a letter basically saying the city has incurred these expenses. Per the documentation, I'll include a copy of that. If this is outside your city's area of responsibility, and therefore you need to reimburse the city for these things. I'm gonna do it in a diplomatic way, because it's not something as though, you know, there's a clear-cut liability, but it appears to be that way, and I'm gonna use language in the letter, you know, indicating we want to get paid, but not, hey, you know, you have to pay this, and, or we'll see.
Yeah,
That's not, I prefer a demo part, start.
I know.
The 11th.
Oh, good. I know you'll be nuanced about it. Yeah, yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you, Pat. And thank you. I approached you on advice for that ordinance, and you gave me the direction, the 185. So thanks again for that. Okay, in terms of mayor, city council members reports, city council members, Susan.
yeah, we were talking about becoming a fire safe city. Firewise, yeah. Oh, what's happened to that?
So Susan, I'm gonna put that back on you. It was discussed, no action was ever taken. We had the pros and the cons of it brought to us by Dominic. What I would ask of you is if you'd like to pursue the cost versus the benefit analysis, and if you could bring that to us, that would be good.
Okay. Now, what costs are involved?
That's the thing, we've never actually gotten a clear-cut answer on that. So you would want to talk to the Firewise Council.
And we have somebody, Anna.
Yes, actually the regional coordinator of Firewise Communities from the Amarillo Fire Safe Council reached out to me, and we worked together. And she was interested in actually doing an information session for the whole city on what a Firewise community is, the pros and cons of it, how it works. And in talking about this creek cleanup as well for fire mitigation. Being a Firewise community does open the city up to grant streams for the creek clearance for fuel breaks and fireproofing homes. So she actually asked me to bring it up tonight. I wasn't quite sure if I should bring it up for public comments, I apologize, but she said that if that was something we were interested in, then she'd be willing to organize an information session for all of the city residents.
Maybe next month?
So Susan, what I would say is get with, it's Ann, right? I would get with her and get that contact information, and then you can submit that as an agenda item.
Yeah.
And I sat in on the Zoom meeting yesterday with the, anyway, yeah, thank you. And so I heard her speaking, you know, yeah. So thank you. Okay, does that sound okay?
Yeah, it would be nice to have it for next month.
Have it at the town hall. She was interested in doing it even sooner. I mean, organizing something even at break even or something for the whole town. Well, that's.
Maybe you.
Have it at the town hall meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we need authorization from city council to have that meeting.
No, we don't.
So if there's a time that she wants to do it and, letting Sandy or letting Dave know when it is so that we can support it, but I don't think we have to vote on it.
No,
I
we
think
don't.
that can just move ahead.
I can't.
And if she wants to pick a time, I mean, there's the different bulletin boards across the city where she can post that information, and then that's probably the best medium in order to alert the actual residents who don't attend this meeting to see it and want to participate.
We can also post on the city government webpage and then send it out for the citizens who signed up for, just as an announcement with regard to getting in the city info. So, and I'm presuming she's going to be setting up a hybrid program. So there might be physical presence, but then it would be Zoom available or some fashion.
I would have to confirm that with her. I know that we do have that capacity to do that. Through Amarillo Resource Conservation District, which is tied to the Amarillo Fire and Safety Council. So I assume we'd be able to do that, but I have to speak with her.
If that is a model that she would like to set up and have, hybrid for people who want to physically meet and then also do Zoom, we have the equipment here to do that.
Oh,
So that can be set up here if she would like to do that. We use for city council YouTube only because we were Zoom bomb, but we can set up Zoom again for something of that nature. So let us know. Because I imagine it would probably be a mix of some people remotely and some people wanting to be physically there. Okay.
Another item is with ARSA dissolving. I asked for sewer committee people to work with me, and Bruce and I got together and we're talking about how to be independent of Sutter Creek and to look into what other small towns are doing with their sewage. And so that's ongoing. ACTC, I was on the Transportation Commission and I'm retiring, and now Sandy is taking over ACTC.
And it's a mixed blessing.
It was a full-time job.
Yeah.
And part of ACTC, Transportation Commission, is the BPAC, bike and pedestrian setting. We're working on a trail from Amador City to Sutter Creek by way of Turner Road. And we're slowly getting and I still want to be on that, getting going with who's doing the cities do a certain portion, and so we would put in one sign and pay for it. The county would put in different things along Turner Road, and then Sutter Creek would put in for what they're doing in Sutter Creek. So that's progressing. And let's see. I think that's it from me.
Okay, Bruce.
So, no, there was no meeting, no RSA meeting.
Yeah, so
And there's no district board meeting. That was canceled also.
but there's you already reported on ACRA.
Well. and
There
that
we go.
was- Oh, but one thing about ACRA, they want somebody from the council. They would, don't they?
Yes, they do. We need to have a representative on ACRA.
Who's going?
And I told Mike in the meantime to send all information to me until we get another council member. So
So,
that new council member will inherit ACRA, I hope. So, okay, Anne.
No LAFCO meeting this month.
Well, I just have a few little things to add. Most of it was already discussed, and I did promise yesterday at the Amador County disaster alert people to remind everyone at home and here that we have a new emergency alert system. There are postcards on the counter about that. It's called Smart 911. They are going to continue to use the red alert system for 1 year because they think it might take that long to get all the citizens turned over to the new system, but they'd like as many as possible to pick up a card, use the QR and get listed with the new system. It's pretty straightforward.
And it's not straightforward to me.
I'll help you. I did it this afternoon and it worked out just.
Well, you need a username and a password, and I
just use my email.
Oh.
See, it works. And the other one is a report from Sutter Creek Fire Protection District. Right now, they are finishing the property by property checks of fire hazards in Sutter Creek. They've cited 89 properties for, needing to clean up their property for having fire hazards. So far, 19 of them have complied. They anticipate finishing up with Sutter Creek properties within a week or 10 days, and then they will move on to Amador City. Again, it is fire season, so it may take a little longer. There may be some interruptions, but they will start going property by property here and citing homeowners who have fire hazards or have not done appropriate fire mitigation on their property. And just want to let everyone know that will be happening. And with that agenda, last one is we do have a permit log. Larry sent it late. If anyone would like to take a look at it, it's nice of him to send that, but it didn't get included, I think, in the wider packet today. And with that, the next meeting we have in July will be on July 18th at 7 p.m. At the end of that meeting, we will be having a closed session, but that will be something in the agenda for all of you to know about and know more about what that closed session might relate to. So you can stay for the report of that session if it's something of interest. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Okay, at the ready. Is there a second?